This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, can you close the door, please?
Does that mean she's not coming in?
Yes. Good morning. Welcome to everyone. This is our 33rd meeting of the Statewide Commission on Recycling Markets and Curbside Recycling. Our last meeting of 2021 to finalize our letter to CalRecycle and the legislature and our advice regarding the tasks we've been given. And we plan to meet today until 11. Hopefully we can wrap it up a little bit early so that everybody can get on with their holiday season. And I just want to thank all the commissioners again for all the hard work. So we'll go ahead and start with a roll call. And I think I can just see who is here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got a quorum because we're at 16 now. So all we need is 9. So we'll go ahead, unless anybody wants to do it individually, we can expedite this and move on. But we have established a quorum. We are missing Commissioner Bouchard today. He was called to a meeting he cannot miss, so he sends his apologies. So now that we've established a quorum, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 2, which is review and potential approval of the meeting notes from our commission meeting on December 1st. Are there any commissioners that would like to discuss the meeting minutes, make any changes, or do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Very good, Commissioner Segura and Commissioner Ward. All those in favor, thumbs up or an aye. Very good. Is there anyone who is opposed? Seeing none, the meeting minutes are approved. Thank you very much. We will now move on quickly to agenda item number 3, which is our public comment review for items not on the agenda. CalRecycle, can you share any comments we might have received in the last 24 hours or items not on the agenda?
Yes, there's one comment from Pre-Zero USA to read.
Okay.
So this is a long comment, so this whole thing has been published and I will read the 150 words. As I said, it's from Pre-Zero US regarding the response to commissioners' comments in the November 3rd, 2021 statewide commission meeting with reference to Pre-Zero US reclamation and use of post-consumer films and mention of SB 270, California Bags Bill, statute language regarding post-consumer resin PCR certification in polyethylene reusable bags. Company brief. Pre-Zero entered the US market in 2018 and is part of the International Pre-Zero Group, which is also a player in the European recycling and disposal market. Pre-Zero positions itself as an innovation driver in the industry with the goal of creating a world in which resources are no longer wasted thanks to closed loop. Zero waste, 100% reusable material. As a result of expansion efforts, Pre-Zero is now operational in 9 countries with around 30,000 employees at 430 locations. The services arm of Pre-Zero US specializes in providing recycling solutions for plastic and organic waste originating from commercial businesses. Additionally, Pre-Zero US packaging, and that's the end of the 150 words. And again, there's a lot more text that has been published.
Are there any other public comments?
That is it at this time.
Very good, thank you. And Commissioner Schneider, did you wish to speak?
Hey, thank you, Chair. Wasn't sure how to bring this up. In just a few days ago, the San Jose Police Department did a huge sting on a problem that's been happening in the Bay Area, which is the theft of catalytic converters from cars. And they've been studying it. They've been trying to get the whole ring. They found a good number of the people. And again, it is recycling industry that is accepting these catalytic converters, possibly in the used car part area. And I don't know if this commission has the bandwidth, maybe it'll be for next year or next fiscal year, to look at recycling centers' acceptance of stolen items on that. Very painful in the greater Bay Area. This sting actually created was accepting catalytic converters from all over the Bay Area on that. And it's just something that hurt a lot of my people.
Yeah,
Why
this
should
would
it
be brought up
directly
under
affect-
agenda item 6, because this would be about next meeting and agenda items, I think.
Okay.
But I definitely hear you, and I think this is a bigger issue. It's not just catalytic converters. I can remember when it was manhole covers and other things. So maybe that's something we should talk about agendizing it in for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Very good. So if there's no other public comments, I think we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3. I'm sorry, number 4, which is the meat of our meeting today. And that is the review of our draft letter to be sent to CalRecycle and the legislature with our updated policies and new policies, and then finalizing the last few policies that we have not fully adopted yet. So I'll go ahead now, and we have posted the draft letter. It is on under the final policy advice letter and attachments in the Google Drive. It is attachment number 1 as the draft cover letter. So if we could have Commissioner Ward maybe pull that up, and we can look at it live and make any edits live. And of course, I wouldn't want to finalize this until after we get through all our policies, because we need to make sure we're including all the final policies that are adopted, and we're not sure if all of them will be adopted today until we do it. Thank you very much, Commissioner Ward. So I guess first I'd like to start with, if anybody has read the letter and has some suggestions or changes or concerns about the general context of the letter and what is in it, please put your star asterisks in the chat and we will call on you. Otherwise, I would recommend that we actually go through this almost word for word to make sure everybody is really clear on what's in it. Okay, so that kind of tells me you've all read it and you're okay with it, so that's great. I guess, just quickly, Commissioner Ward, do you want to just quickly go a quick review just to make sure everybody's clear of what's in it? And for the audience. Oh, I'm sorry, we can't hear.
This is a simple cover letter. The work of the commission really focuses on the policies and the updates of the policies. And so the previous report we did in July gave a real good overview of the development of solid waste and recycling legislation in California and how the policy recommendations fit into those. And since we've already done that, this cover letter basically introduces the new policies that we've discussed in the last 6 months and adopted, and the policies that were revised. And so it really cuts to the quick, but we also include in there appreciation for the great legislative successes that we've had in the last year. So that's the overview. There's a paragraph giving an overview of the new policies. There's another paragraph giving an overview of the policies that have been revised. But we want this to be as clear as possible. And one thing that I was thinking about, we probably want to highlight in there is the consensus process of the committee, because that is somewhat unusual.
Especially to have this many agreements. Where would you like to put that? I think that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, let's just go paragraph by paragraph, and I appreciate everybody's contributions on this. And you want to read aloud? Shall I read aloud, and anybody just chime in when we're?
I think we just go through it
real
quick.
Greetings from the 16 volunteer appointees of the Statewide Commission on Recycling Markets and Curbside Recycling. It has been my privilege to chair this commission since we were appointed and began meeting in July 2020. This commission was appointed under AB 1583 Eggman, providing advice to CalRecycle, the legislature, and other entities regarding policy proposals and suggestions relating to California's ambitious recycling and organics materials recovery goals from the perspective of professionals working in many aspects of the complicated materials management industry. Okay, comments on that?
No, just
not
going to see a comment.
Yeah. Right. I'll wait for you to highlight chat comments. The commission issued preliminary policy recommendations in December of 2020 and required annual report in July 2021 with policy and program recommendations to achieve our source reduction, market development, greenhouse gas reduction, and recycling goals. The Commission was delighted by multiple legislative efforts and laws passed in 2021 that directly addressed or responded to Commission recommendations, including AJR 4, Garcia, AB 343, Allen. Go ahead.
That's SB 343. That's why we're
Thank
reading
you.
this out loud. We can't even see our own mistakes anymore. Thank you.
Good, thank you. AB 881, Gonzalez, AB 962, Comlager, AB 1201, King, and AB 1311, Wood. The Commission also appreciates the introduction of the related two-year bills, including AB 661. Any changes on that?
We do have a Commissioner Osagura. He said the change complicated to complex.
Oh,
Where does it say complicated? And we can say complex.
right.
The first
Complex.
paragraph, it says, I mean, just find it. It says complicated, but I think it's complex materials management,
Yeah.
right?
And I actually kind of want to add discard because, well,
Yeah.
that's mostly what we deal with.
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, moving on to the next paragraph.
Yep.
The documents attached to this letter include 5 new policy recommendations and 4 updates of policy recommendations from prior reports. Policy recommendations, I'm tempted to add right there, each of these policy recommendations has been adopted by consensus, by a unanimous consensus.
Yeah, that's excellent. That would be good to highlight. It's hard for people to believe, so it's good to say it.
You know, Heidi, more people should believe that we can get to consensus of things in this country. So I want to highlight that. We can get to good policy if we have consensus and work together.
Totally agree. This is setting a really good example. Each of these policies. I think we should bold unanimous consensus, maybe
Okay.
votes of all the commissioners.
By unanimous consensus votes.
Is that right? Of all
Yeah.
the commissioners.
You want that bold?
Yeah, I'm gonna highlight it.
Okay.
So they see it. Thank you.
Folks all okay with that? All right, moving on. Our policy recommendations suggest ways CalRecycle.
Heidi, I'm sorry. Heidi, I'm sorry. On the, I was muted. I don't think we voted. So consensus means we achieved consensus, but we didn't really vote.
That on some of them, that's true. We didn't actually have a raising of hands. We just had no objections and everybody was on.
Yeah. Because we didn't record votes. I don't believe.
Well, they
on
were
some-
roll call votes, but we voted. Everybody was there and voted yes. We didn't do a roll call vote, but I'm fine. That's totally fine. And again, please use the chat for your comments.
Okay, we're good. Okay, our policy recommendations suggest ways CalRecycle could support outreach to prevent waste and reduce contamination in recovery streams, and how CalRecycle could affirm some of the projected reduction in greenhouse gas emissions associated with composting and anaerobic facilities. I can actually see that we used that abbreviation before we defined it, so I need to do that up above.
Yep. Exactly why we're doing this.
Oops, hello. Undo.
Perfect.
And
Yes, if we only had an editor.
some of the projected reduction in greenhouse gas emissions associated with composting or anaerobic digestion facilities. Our recommendations address the need for enforcement of existing laws related to labeling and recyclability of film plastics and how thermoform and wine and liquor bottles could be managed in California's bottle bills. At this point, I want to highlight that Jandel, who's worked on these issues much more, emphasizes that labeling should just have one L. I occasionally drop 2 L's, so if you find that, please let me know and I'll. Any other comments?
No comments.
Okay. There are also 4 policies which have been updated based on new information and further discussion. We remain concerned about fires, and policy recommendations to extend producer responsibilities for products managed as household hazardous waste are even more focused on products that are suspected flammability and explosive hazards. We encourage CalRecycle to quantify how the benefits of carbon farming, GHG sequestration through the application of compost products, can be considered during environmental reviews. We updated our right to repair policy regarding labeling and product repair and to reflect new information from the Federal Trade Commission and Apple supporting consumer repair.
Can we go back to the previous paragraph? The sentence that are suspected flammability just doesn't sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to dance around. We're not directly pointing fingers saying we know this is the source of this fire. So that was pretty much why we.
Okay.
Possible. Open to edits.
I think it's just the suspected to be flammable might do it.
Or to flammability, I guess, or.
Well, Commissioner Sky?
Hazards already implies that it's potential. So I don't think suspected is needed. I think if you say.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking that same thing, Commissioner Sky, because it's already labeled flammable.
There you go. That work?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate all edits. You'll have really good minds. Thank you.
You know, Ted, you might even take the word out, the word even out.
Okay.
Wastes are more focused, you know, hazardous wastes are more focused. The even, you don't need that out of
Yeah, got you. Okay.
Yeah, that's clear.
There, I think that reads better. There you go.
Good. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so we encourage CalRecycle environmental reviews. Are you going to keep reading?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'll read that paragraph again. There are also 4 policies which have been updated based on new information and further discussion. We remain concerned about fires, and policy recommendations to extend producer responsibilities for products managed as household hazardous waste are more focused on products that are flammable or explosive hazards. We encourage CalRecycle to quantify how the benefits of carbon farming, GHG sequestration through the application of compost products can be considered during environmental reviews. We updated our right to repair policy regarding labeling and product repair and to reflect new information from the Federal Trade Commission and Apple supporting consumer repair. I'm quite proud of the extraordinary effort.
Hold it. Can we go back? I mean, I'm just wondering,
Yes.
Do we want to say consumer repair or right to repair or right for consumer? Because I just want to keep calling it the same thing.
John?
Consumers' right to repair?
Yes,
Okay.
I like I've heard that there will be a bill drop this year on this issue, so I just want to be crystal clear.
Well, I don't want to characterize Apple's support of consumers' right to repair.
Right.
That's why
They didn't really.
Yeah, but they are supporting repair, so little different.
How about supporting repair by consumers?
Yeah, or supporting repair, yeah, by consumers.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
That's accurate.
Okay.
Repair by consumers. So you would add by consumers?
I like it leaving it there because it can be.
Well, no, they support repair, but now they're supporting repair by consumers. That's good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, it really is by consumers is the issue. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. I am quite proud of the extraordinary effort and time commitment this commission has made in the last 18 months to recommend ways to improve California's recycling and composting programs and infrastructure. The commission is heartened that some of our key recommendations have become law in just this first year. We look forward to finding ways to build on this partnership as we continue to advise CalRecycle and the legislature about the best ways to continue California's leadership in waste prevention, recycling, composting, and conservation.
I like
If you wish
that.
If you wish to have a more detailed briefing, please feel free to contact me at heidi@nsaction.us. Sincerely. And then we list the policies and they have hotlines.
I thought it would be a good idea to say at the end, you know, if you'd like a briefing, because we've been trying to get a more organized briefing with the staff. We've discussed this before and it's never happened. We can try it again, but you know, it's COVID, we're coming out of release and then we're back into COVID and it's back and forth. And now they're moving to another building, which is making it complicated. So I've talked to a couple of the legislative staff and I'm thinking about we're trying to do it again in January. So I'll keep the Vice Chair informed of that if it happens, so we can do that. But I also just wanted to leave it open that if they could contact me and then I could work with Commissioner Vice Chair to brief them if they would like a private briefing. Okay.
Is
Well,
there any
good.
benefit in broadening that discussion to specifically say we can do that for the legislature, the governor's office, or CalRecycle?
A briefing?
Yeah.
Well, we can, a detailed briefing, if this is sent to CalRecycle and all the legislative staff, it applies to anybody. So I think we're okay. Well, why don't we hold this? This is nice. I'm glad we went through it that way and now we're all clear because the attached proposals are going to potentially change if we don't approve them all today. So let's go ahead and move on to our approval of the policies. And the first one I believe that we needed to get to we have the staff here from CalRecycle from 8:30 until 9:30 and about the bottle bill. So any questions about the bottle bill? I'd like to, before they join us at 8:30, I think we should start with the bottle bill just to make sure we make the best use of their time. I just want to highlight that we were given several documents. One is the Quality Incentive Payment Program notice that went out from CalRecycle December 3rd. That is posted in the Google document. I believe it's also posted on the CalRecycle page. And this is basically saying effective September 23rd of this year. The CalRecycle can spend $10 million of the bottle bill money to provide quality incentive payments to curbside recycling programs to increase the sorting and separation of clean loads of PET containers. And beginning in July of this year, CalRecycle can make these quality incentive payments for PET containers where the maximum contamination rate is 2% of PET thermoform containers and other contaminants. So this should help with and temporarily getting more thermoforms out of the bales and into recycling, but this is not a permanent program. This is just the $10 million. $10 million is what they have assigned right now. So there's still a larger fix needed. And I guess I just wanted to bring that up first for any comments or questions, because we are going to talk about the thermoform policy and the glass policy, or the wine and spirits. Anybody have comments on this? Okay.
The other thing is I thought that in terms of those policies that we had discussed that there was significant changes to those documents, that we would need more time and those wouldn't be part of this report going out. So I thought that was a discussion from last time.
That my understanding, maybe I got it wrong, was that we were not going to approve it at that meeting because there had been too many changes, but at that meeting, those proposals were out there. If the commission wanted its second hearing today, unless it's changed a lot again, but that's up for commission discussion for sure.
Okay.
Any thoughts on?
The thing is, my recollection was this was going to be moved till next year to have further and deeper discussion. So
Okay,
I'll wait to see what is in the documents.
Okay. Okay. And then the other item that was given to us by CalRecycle was regarding data request on beverage dealers exempted from SB 155, sorted by county. And we were given that. That is posted as well, and it's got a lot of data on the count of the beverage dealers that are exempted by county. I was shocked LA County has 688. That's a lot. Is there any questions on that? Okay. Then I would also say maybe what we go ahead and do then is pull up the updated or the new policy proposals that we said we would take up. And Commissioner Ward, I'm looking for my list. Got too many pieces of paper here. I think we decided the first one. There's the one, we should start with the beverage containers. So I think that was going to be the thermoforms and then wine and spirits. While we have the CalRecycle staff, they should be here in 4 minutes. So maybe we just start discussing these and then we can hear from CalRecycle and ask them any questions, if that's okay with the commissioners. So Commissioner Davis, do you want to go ahead and review the thermoforms policy? And then I guess if we don't want to adopt it today, and this is not something, again, that was agreed on, then we'll move it to the next.
Yeah, if you want to scroll down, I think this is essentially the same policy you saw last time.
I'm sorry, can you expand your screen so we don't see all the beautiful stars?
Not my screen.
Oh, sorry.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, this is essentially the same policy we saw last time. I think the issue that perhaps Commissioner Oseguera was alluding to is on, you're going too fast here. There. So the specific proposal under 6 and 7 that, so if you recall, there's a couple issues with thermoforms. CalRecycle no longer does individual commingled rate studies, so MRFs that are separating thermoforms are being paid at the statewide commingled rate that includes thermoforms in the as a non-CRV material. So the approach would be to either establish a statewide rate, what the proposal calls a bale statewide commingled rate for bales that are free of thermoforms, where the thermoforms have been otherwise recovered. That's very similar to the quality incentive payment that you have in front of you, which allows, I think, limits it to 2% thermoforms and other contamination, pretty strict. We may want to comment on that. But the other option then that is presented here on 6 and 7 is to change the commingled rate basis for shipped material rather than incoming loads. And that is, in fact, what's done for the quality incentive payments. The other proposal on number 7 is to begin setting MRF-specific commingled rates reflecting facility performance. So again, very similar to what's in the QIP for thermoforms. I have to note that Commissioner Donlevy was the one who moved to insert that language. I see him in the meeting now. But generally, what's proposed here on both 6 and 7 is essentially what's being done on the quality incentive payment. So, and that I don't think we knew that last time. So the clarification of the QIP process and the relation to number 6 and 7 is included.
Okay.
Otherwise, essentially the same. Otherwise, as you saw last time. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Segura.
Yeah, this is exactly the item that I'm still, the board isn't concerned. I mean, I think there was significant change to this document to where this is truly for me as a first reading. I think, you know, a number of commissioners voiced concern regarding, you know, this document and having more time to discuss it and work on it. And my understanding was that this was going to be looked at till next time. And so at this point, I cannot provide support until I have more time to digest this.
Okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I guess I think this needs a deeper dive, maybe outside of the full commission with a few of the people who are really interested in this, and that could bring it back. Is there interest in forming a subcommittee that can meet in January to address this issue? Because it seems like it's not going away. And without the commission providing any advice to the legislature, I'm just worried that it'll be a miss for us to help on this.
Yeah, I think I'd be willing to do it. I think Commissioner Kalpakoff will look at that as well. I mean, so definitely, I think I'm raising my hand, but I'm raising Commissioner Kalpakoff because I know he raised some concerns regarding it as well. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Oseguera. I appreciate that.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So, Commissioner Davis, you and I'm wondering if there's anybody else who'd be interested in this. So if you and I meet with Commissioners Oseguera and Kalpakoff, we could have schedule a separate meeting in January early to start discussing this in depth. And in public, we'd have to schedule a meeting here today so that we could do it.
I guess I would ask Commissioner Donlevy if he wanted to be a part
and
of that.
Donlevy, I'm sorry. Yes, of course. So that would be 5 of us. Is there anybody else who would be interested in this? This seems to be just a very big issue coming up everywhere, and there's lots of
I'm happy to join, Heidi. This is Laura. I'm happy to join.
Great. So we have 6. Commissioner.
And this is Nick. If there's room, I'd love to join too.
Okay, Commissioner Lapis. So we got 7. So this is subgroup very specific to this PET, issue, thermoforms, and the commingled rate for the bottle bill. Okay, so there's 7 of us. I would suggest at the end of the meeting, when we schedule future meetings, we've now got a new subcommittee. So that's the first and only subcommittee going into 2022 at this point, to just resolve this one issue going into the next legislative season. So we'll go ahead.
I would think we'd want to have some CalRecycle participation.
It has to be CalRecycle participation. It's going to be publicly noticed.
No, I mean, from the, the guidance on the kind of existing practices, the QIP.
Right, well, we can set the agenda. Yeah, we'll put that on the next meeting then for the new bottle bill, T-forms, contamination subcommittee. We'll figure out the name and everything. So we've got 7 commissioners. Thank you very much. So we'll put pause on this item. This will not be then in our letter. So we will remove that, Commissioner Ward.
Working on it now.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that is not a new policy proposal. And then we'll go ahead and move on to, and I want to thank everybody who did work on this. It's super important and your work will not be for naught. We will just get to it in January. The next one would be the wine and spirits, because that is also for the bottle bill, and we should have our CalRecycle staff from the bottle bill section here with us now. And who was the lead on wine and spirits?
It was Mr. Donlevy and I.
Commissioner Donlevy, do you want to go through this?
Oh, I mean, if Commissioner Davis would like to take the lead, that would be great. I chimed in. As I said before, it's great working with him because he does the yeoman's work. Lots of work done. So,
is this could we see the track changes? Ted, do you have that? Might be easier. If you recall, at the last meeting, there was, I think, a consensus that rather than offer an opportunity to wine and spirits to come up with their own program, that we would just simply recommend that they become part of the CRV program. So there were also added some clarifications, sources of data, and move some things around that were really background, but
we
same
start
language.
at the beginning and, I'm sorry, and stop moving the screen. I'm starting to get dizzy. If we could just pause there and then you just explain the overview and then we'll go through paragraph by paragraph. 'Cause there's quite a lot of-
Okay, the changes that you're seeing here were already in the document. They were moved into the background section. They were actually kind of mixed into part of the discussion later on, and then we footnoted those. So.
Okay, so why don't we go through this? And I think Commissioner Schneider, did you have a comment?
Let me loop back when we're done reading everything.
Okay, no problem.
It's more adding wine bottles to CRV goes back to the loss of the bottle reuse industry.
Well, and I can highlight that I'm hearing from a lot of people that they are not able to get enough glass right now, and the wine industry is even having trouble getting bottles to bottle their wine. So I think there may be room for discussion now that we really need to get this glass back. So do you want to go paragraph by paragraph and go through this and we can finalize it and then vote?
Yeah, so as I said, the changes you're seeing now were moved language that was previously in the document to make it read better.
Okay, so why don't we read it paragraph by paragraph so we can follow and really just agree.
Okay, I'm getting confused. I thought you're looking at a paragraph.
Okay, so we'll just read it and then we'll accept changes as everybody's okay with them and we go through them. Unless
yeah, that doesn't work on this document because we're looking at a track changes document, not the actual final.
I see.
So I can't edit live on this one. So I'm just reading and assuming all these edits are good, and then I'd have to jump back to the other one. So California manufacturers of new glass containers must use at least 35% post-consumer recycled glass or 25% if the color is mixed color. There's little use of mixed recycled glass because of an inconsistent color. Likewise, fiberglass insulation manufacturers must use at least 30% post-consumer glass. In recent years, the two industries in California have used more than 700,000 tons of cullet annually. California bottles were 47.9% recycled content in 2019, exceeding the statutory standards. California glass bottle manufacturers can use more source-separated recycled glass to exceed mandates and meet demand. According to the Glass Packaging Institute, glass returned via California's container deposit system is 98% usable in furnaces, while curbside glass varies from 30% to 40% residual contamination.
Let's stop there. Anybody that has any comments or concerns about any of that language? And thank you for citing the source of the data, because that's a pretty big, that's an important number, that 98% is collected and the deposit program is usable, while 30 to 40% is residual contamination from curbside. I did not know that until I read this.
I'm tempted to shift that to 60 to 70% usable, so at least we're using the similar comparison.
I thought that too. I had to switch it in my head, so that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I use the language directly from the Google Doc. It's the same meaning, so that's fine.
How could we say 2% contamination for the container deposit system?
Either way, I mean, it's all the same meaning.
Yeah, it's either contamination or the other. So. No, I would say 2% unusable.
2%.
And instead of saying usable, say just unusable. Well, unusable in, didn't it say kilns or something, or furnaces?
Well, curbside, there we go.
And furnaces, yeah, okay. Unusable in furnaces. I wouldn't say in material. In furnaces, it was very specific. Thank you. While curbside glass varies from 30 to 40%. So residual contamination, meaning it's unusable in a furnace.
We'll add unusable.
Yeah.
Well, it's unusable in furnaces. So
Yeah.
that's why you know, I mean, it's all in the context. So.
Well, my dad always told me, if it can be misunderstood, it will be. So we have to be crystal clear.
Yeah, there's a link to the source.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Should I read it one more time just to make sure? According to the Glass Packaging Institute, glass returned via California's container deposit system delivers about 2% unusable material for furnaces. While curbside glass varies from 30% to 40% residual contamination, unusable in furnaces.
Okay.
All right. Reading on. Imported glass bottles are not required to comply with California's recycled content standard. Unfilled reports of glass bottles manufactured unfilled imports of glass bottles manufactured outside of California in 2020 represented nearly 30% of all glass container domestic shipments, roughly 7 billion empty glass containers from 70 to 80 countries, most with no accessible data on recycled content levels. Since they are not manufactured in California, these imports do not fall under the state's minimum content requirement and place California bottle manufacturers at a competitive disadvantage.
That's good. Is there anybody that has comments on this?
Okay.
Great.
Wine and spirits have never been included in the California Bottle Bill Redemption Program. However, they are included in other states' recycling deposit programs, curbside and commercial collection. Wine and spirits have received the benefits of curbside collection programs, able to claim high recyclability without helping the program costs that are passed on to consumers. The scrap value for curbside recycled glass does not cover collection and processing costs. Approximately 60% of curbside glass containers is non-CRV. These costs have been passed on to the consumers and ratepayers. The financial burden of materials
I guess
recovery.
I could say 60% of glass containers are non-CRV.
Yeah.
Hey, Ted, and you read that able to onto consumers without the and it sounded better. So you might want to take out the.
I'm sorry, where are we?
Just up, right there in the red line.
Yeah.
Place that are passed on to consumers. You read it that way and you didn't read the, so it sounded better without the. So
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Anything else on that one? The financial burden to materials recovery facilities is high due to breakage, very high due to breakage, process loss, equipment wear and tear, damage, and material cross-contamination. Secondary processing is a prerequisite to make marketable material, adding additional MRF costs. California glass recyclers have seen a net decrease of total glass recycling in the past 10 years, specifically a decrease of color-separated glass from recycling centers over the past 5 years, with an increase in curbside mixed glass. Glass is highly recycled. I'm sorry, anything on that one?
I'm sorry, Ted. Is there a data source for that fact?
Jeff, I think you have that one.
I mean, it would be the Cal. Let's make sure. It would be the CalRecycle annual data reports that would show recycling center glass volume going down and curbside glass volume going up.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're citing sources when we make statements that are driving.
And if I could ask Nick, if you could send me a link to that thing, I'll make sure that when we're done, we get a footnote on it.
And CalRecycle, there has a public comment on this glass recycling. If you could please read it.
Yes, excuse me. That public comment is from Scott DeFife from the Glass Packaging Institute. And they say, I believe those numbers from our GPI org are not specific to California. Those are national. In California, there is CRV glass that is much more contaminated than other states due to the use of curbside collection for CRV glass.
Okay, and I would ask them to, if you have, well, I guess we should be clear. This is why I want to cite the data sources, because if we're citing national data and California's situation is different, it might change our policy decision. So we really should state this very clearly. If the data is national, we should say that.
Or could you reread that? I think he said California is dirtier than.
He did say that, but again, we need data. Where is the source of that? Outside of Glass Packaging Institute, is there a report they could send us or?
Yeah, I thought the numbers came from the presentation that he made. So.
Oh, okay. So I would just, I think, I just want to make sure this has, okay, Commissioner Kalpakoff, go ahead.
Thank you, Heidi. You know, the concept of this adding wine and spirits to the beverage container CRV program is great. I don't want to muddy the waters, or maybe we already did with so much data and things that I'm hearing that it may not be the right data. It's national data. You know, do we need? Let me ask you this question: Do we need to assume, or it seems like we're assuming a lot of different percentages of contamination? What's in California CRV? Can this thing be streamlined just to add it in there without you know?
Yeah,
too much background. I mean, I don't know if it's necessary. We know there's a problem, but it seems like it's getting really complicated. And as we add more to this policy, it seems like it's getting muddier a little bit. That's my comment.
Thank you. And we are out of time on this too, so we really don't have time to really debate any more data. And I was thinking the same thing. If the focus is adding, you know, these bottles to the CRV program, the data about contamination, I'm not sure is what's making the case for it. The data regarding, you know, we want to get it in because it's a lot of glass being lost, but the contamination thing, I don't know, unless we're driving.
Well, it's you know, it's the contamination in curbside that makes it unusable in furnaces. I think that's the point. But if Scott DeFife is saying the numbers are national, and you know, we can fix that, and, or go ahead and remove it. But
well, we have one more comment.
Contamination is important, so we need to at least acknowledge that contamination in curbside programs is far greater than deposit returns, and that the curbside glass is largely unusable.
Well, that's not true. And there's not a MRF in California that's having a problem getting rid of their recycled glass right now either. So I mean, you can mention that too if you're going to mention that.
Yeah, no, it's a higher percentage, and I think and you know, I don't know how we want to handle this, but my recollection of the presentation to the Market Development Committee was that there's a high demand for deposit glass to make back into bottles, and a far lesser demand for curbside sorted glass for bottle manufacturing.
Okay, we have a public comment from the Glass Recycling Institute. I'd like to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
Yes, this is another public comment from Scott DeFife from the Glass Packaging Institute, and it says, we would argue that the cost to MRFs for glass processing would be far less if they had better glass equipment or some sort of requirement to meet a standard. And the entire citations for the flow of glass material in curbside going up is a direct result of the closure of the redemption centers, which disproportionately affect glass because the glass is not picked up by the scavenger economy. California is the only state with a CRV that allows redemption glass to be picked up curbside, which diminishes the value of the glass by pushing it through the most inefficient way to move the glass.
Thank you. I think this is yeah, I think if we focus on just adding glass to the program, the wine and spirits, and not focus on all this data about contamination unless there is a reason to do it.
No, you can take out that last sentence on the first page if you like.
I think we have agreement on the general concept of the policy. What we're not agreeing is on the data. And we don't have time to really hammer it out today. And I would invite the Glass Packaging Institute to please email us any data or post it in the public comments that you would like us to have.
Yeah, I think we'd love to have their input, Commissioner Donlevy.
Yeah. Commissioner Donlevy?
Yeah, I think we're arguing over the data I think we're all agreeing that it's relatively accurate. It's whether it's a national level, a state level. Yes, curbside programs can move their glass, but they're paying for it. They're paying to get rid of it. So if we're arguing over data that's going to delay this policy moving forward, just pull the reference to the data out. I think it's indisputable that the additional glass, the wine and spirits, going into the curbside programs increases the costs of processing, increases maintenance costs, and it's a cost that's ultimately passed through to the consumers and ratepayers. I mean, I think it's time that this policy get moved forward.
Yeah, we should probably stop jumping around on this because I'm having a hard time tracking. So let's go and figure out what to remove so we can get agreement on this policy. Do you have a suggestion, Commissioner Donlevy? What to remove?
I mean, if it's a dispute between 30 and 40% residual, pull that out. If that's what is causing the discomfort, pull that out. That the buyback glass, nobody's questioning that it's 98% recoverable.
Okay, so we're going to take that section out right there, that sentence that says according to the Glass Packaging Institute.
I thought just the last.
See, I'm not uncomfortable with that. I'm not uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. All right, fine. We're fine. All right, so California's container deposit system is 98% usable in furnaces. Glass return via California's container deposit system is 98% usable in furnaces. All right, so is that okay with Commissioner Kapikoff? Was that the part that, was there more that you wanted out?
You know, I agree with Jeff that you know, there's a cost to recycle the glass through MRFs, and it is borne by the ratepayers. That's a better, I think. I would just rather, if we're going to send this as a policy recommendation to the ledge, I just want to be accurate, and if it's being less, or if it's not using the facts that may be disputable, then it'd be easier to say that we do know that there's a cost for it. They're not in the system right now. It's been, you know, a ratepayer kind of borne subsidy of MRFs and so on and so forth. But I just don't like the using things I can't back up in this policy, if that makes sense.
I think Commissioner Ward just added an add there to try and get to a generalization that says though contamination in curbside glass is significantly higher. Is there agreement that it's significantly higher than 2% that's collected through the CRV program? Is that accurate? Yeah. Okay, and yeah, okay, so I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. So maybe this is the way we frame it. It's much more general. Okay, very good. All right, I see a lot of thumbs up. Thank you, Commissioner. So I think we've settled that part, so we should keep going. Is there anything in this paragraph that we wanted to remove, or is this the unfilled imports? This is all very interesting to me.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm now reading this, Jeff. Is it unfilled? It says unfilled imports. Go back up. Yeah, unfilled imports of glass bottles manufactured outside of California. I'm not sure that it's outside of California. So it's unfilled imports of glass bottles. I mean, it's accurate, but it's probably unnecessary. So that's better. I feel better with that.
Okay, so now
again, that's a national figure, and so I think it's
unfilled imports of glass bottles in 2020 represented nearly 30% of all glass container domestic shipments, most with no accessible data on recycled content levels. Is everybody okay with that piece of data? Okay, I see nodding. Okay, so since they are not manufactured in California, these imports do not fall under the state's minimum content requirement and place California's bottle manufacturers at a competitive disadvantage. Are we all in agreement on that? Sounds reasonable. Okay, very good. So now we can move down to the wine and spirits paragraph. So wine and spirits have never been included in the California Bottle Bill Redemption Program. However, they are included in the other states' programs. I think we all agree on that. Wine and spirits have received the benefits. So this is down to data. Approximately 60% of curbside glass containers are non-CRV. Does everybody agree with that? Don't know. Is there anybody who, I don't know that to be true. Is there a data source on this?
Commissioner Donlevy, you have a data source, I think. Not hearing him.
I'm not hearing him either.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's from the commingled rate study.
Well, then we should say that. I guess I just really want to be careful. But again, we're on the fly. Do we actually have that link, and can we do this accurately, Commissioner Donlevy? 60% of curbside glass containers are non-CRV?
Correct. The commingled rate for the statewide rate for curbside glass is 39 point something percent. It's just under 40%.
Okay, so why don't you?
We can provide a data source or remove that.
That's right. Yeah, because we'll leave this in yellow, and if we don't get an accurate data source from you by the close of business, then we're just going to remove this part. How about we do that? Because we just have to have this cited. So if you could send that link to Commissioner Ward, and he and I will.
It's the CRV segregated and commingled rates that.
Yep. We just send the link. It'd be great because we're very busy and we don't have time to hunt it all down. Okay, these costs have been passed on to the consumers and the ratepayers. Okay, I think we agreed on that. The financial burden of material recovery facilities is very high. I think we went through this. California glass recyclers have seen a net decrease of total glass recycling in the past 10 years. And this was, I didn't hear anybody disagreeing on this, but again, I don't see data source on this. Decrease of color separated glass from recycling centers over the past 5 years with an increase in curbside mixed glass. Do we have a data source for this one as well?
That was the earlier, that was the first time you asked for a data source. It's the same, it's a repeat of what was up above. So.
Okay, so we'll just repeat the citation from above.
On that one, I just, I read it, and I know when you guys read it a couple times, I just, would want to understand that there's a net decrease in total glass recycling. In our programs, we see a lot of glass, right? Different types of glass in the recycling containers. I don't know if we've seen a decrease of that. So I'd be interested on that one specifically. Definitely, we should look up for a data source of what a decrease is. A specific color? Is it a specific item that they're looking at that's been quoted here versus overall volumes of glass?
Okay, so I would ask that Commissioner Donlevy, you work with Commissioner Oseguera and agree on the data source, and that the data otherwise will remove this sentence.
If I can show my screen.
Can you just send the link maybe and have, I mean,
okay, I just want to make sure this is the correct one since you, if I could show my screen real quickly.
Okay.
Just anecdotally, there should be a correlation between the closure of redemption centers and the reduction in CRV glass in the system. So there's got to be a correlation there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's different product types coming out now that glass may not be the mostly used, material type as well, which could affect the rates.
So here's the 3942 CRV, oops, that's the curbside program table. And this is California recycling program rates, January 1, 2021. Commissioner Donlevy, this is what you were referring to.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll put the link in the chat.
And then as a reference to the decrease in overall glass, we had a representative from Strategic Materials, Paul Faraday. He presented at the recycling subcommittee, and he stated that there's been a net decrease in glass recovery going through their system, and they're the primary glass beneficiation company in California. So we've had what I would consider expert state and present information that showed that there was a decrease in glass, and it's a correlation between loss of redemption centers and, as Commissioner Kalpikoff indicated, it could be a transition from glass to plastic, which is lighter and more stable for shipment.
Okay, well, let's get back to the language and see if we can get through this and finish it. And then we've got another policy or two we've got to get through as well. All right, so we've got the data source that's coming, Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Donlevy, or somebody's gonna, there we go.
Yeah, you should have the data source in the chat.
Thank you. Okay, so then California circular economy to help increase recycling, create jobs, reduce energy consumption, carbon dioxide emissions, and prevent landfilling of highly recyclable and valuable material. Purpose. So the purpose of this policy addresses two issues. Wine and spirits are not part. Okay, I can't. There we go. So I got that in there. Okay, so if you could go to the top, I'm sorry, you just skipped over. Yeah, purpose, perfect. It says two issues, and then it doesn't list clearly 1 and 2, but I think the first one begins with wine and spirits are not part of California's beverage container deposit system, despite comprising 43% of the total weight of glass bottles in the state, and despite being only 23% of glass beverage bottles sold by unit count. So those are the two issues. So I would put a 1 in front of wine and spirits, and then a 2 in front of despite being only. Is that correct, Commissioner Donlevy? The 1 and 2? Policy addresses two issues?
No. The second issue.
Say that, 1 and 2,
yeah.
exactly what we mean. Yeah.
No, there are two issues. One, wine and spirits are not a part of the beverage container system. I tried to number these and I was having trouble getting.
Well, then we need to be clear ourselves. Yeah.
If I could finish. So if you go, take the 2 off, it's not there. That's not the 2. Scroll down.
We scrolled too far?
Yeah, okay. We're missing the second point is the minimum content for imported bottles. So.
Where is it in the purpose?
Yeah, shoot.
Let me see if it's in the other one. I'm sorry about this. Sorry.
I saw it.
Addresses 2 issues. Here we are. And I don't see what the second one is.
Yeah. I'll put that in the text. Dropped it.
Okay. So.
Well, okay. So we'll start with first policy.
The second one is for bottles sold in California. We moved language around and it got dropped.
Yeah, that's why we do this, just to make sure it's all right. Okay, so this policy addresses two issues. One, wine and spirits are not part of California's beverage container deposit program despite comprising 43%. Now this data, where is this coming from? That's 43 and 23%.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Davis, do you have that one?
I don't think that was mine.
Okay, well, we're gonna pull data out if we can't cite sources because we have to be right on this. So somebody will
yeah.
get us the data like today, close the business, please, and then we can finish this and get it out. And then two, so the second policy, can you go back up, please? Thanks. The two, the recycled content of imported bottles cannot be verified. This exclusion means that consumers lack opportunities to recycle glass through buyback centers, that MRFs are denied revenue for non-deposit glass that is recovered, and that the high quality redemption glass excludes wine and spirits, period, I think, yeah. Is that correct then, Commissioner Donlevy and Davis?
Yeah, that's the second issue.
Okay, great. All right, good, I'm glad we got that done. Next paragraph, so the continued exclusion of wine and spirits in California's container redemption value program. Is this the first time we're actually abbreviating this?
CRV.
Seems like we've been saying CRV and we need to make sure it's abbreviated way up higher because I think we've said this before. Or maybe we haven't.
Not seeing it.
Okay, very good. It seems like we would have said it by now. Oh, there's
Yeah,
CRV.
there it is. I saw it.
Only the commission came with an editor, right? Okay. Good, so now we can abbreviate CRV there. Deters higher bottle recycled content and depresses value by pushing glass containers to MRF processing that might otherwise be recovered at available redemption and recycling centers. Does everybody agree with that? I just want to make sure if anybody doesn't, please speak up now because we're gonna finalize this policy. Okay, next sentence, beginning with Connecticut, adopted.
Can you just wait for that second? I mean, I just want to.
Sure, absolutely.
The word pushing.
By pushing glass containers to MRF processing. Continued exclusion of wine and spirits.
I mean, if we're gonna make assumptions, we might make an assumption that adding wine and spirits to the CRV program would incentivize MRFs to add, technology to clean the glass as well, and a cleaner product to get less contamination going to the, the glass manufacturers. We're gonna make assumptions.
I get nervous about assumptions because you know what they
You too. It's already in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is additive.
We delete that one?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, so then we'll go on to Connecticut adopted SB 1037 in 2021, requiring that wine and liquor manufacturers and distributors enter into agreements to collect and recycle 80% of containers sold in the state by 2023, or be included in the state's existing beverage container recycling program. So basically we're saying here, there's a precedent already for this.
Well, it's just an aside that Connecticut took a different approach. So it's more on the background side. We're not proposing this. This was language that was in there referring
This
to.
is under the proposal section, correct?
No, it's background still.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see all the headers, so okay, good.
Don't we already have in the body that most states have a CRV program for glass or for wine and spirits?
Yes.
Isn't it already up in the beginning?
Yeah.
I would recommend taking this out.
Because this is just saying that other states have had bottle bills that didn't have wine and liquor, and they're setting a precedent of getting agreements that if they don't hit 80%, they're going to be added.
Connecticut's taking a different approach. I think Commissioner Donlevy, there's only a couple states that have wine and liquor in their deposit system. So we're not the only one.
I don't mind leaving it because it's a fact, but I'm not sure how helpful it is. But anybody else have a thought on that? Do you want to take it out or leave it? I mean, we just need to get this done for today. If you'd like it removed, Commissioner Kabikoff, I'm fine with it. I don't see anybody else commenting.
I'm going to go back up top to find out what.
Okay, so we'll go back to that section. If somebody wants to remove it, we'll go ahead and pull it out. So the next paragraph is GPI published its Circular Future for Glass, a 10-year roadmap on Earth Day of 2021. The roadmap includes the following solution to drive collection. Quote, partner with CPG companies, retailers, and other manufacturers across the value chain to set up a private sector run deposit return schemes for glass, plastics, and other materials. Now, so there's no context for these two comments as to why we're sharing them in the background. Is there any context, Commissioner Donlevy, as to why?
Just reference that Connecticut is looking at including wine and spirits, and GPI sees wine and spirits and separate collection programs is an option for the future. I mean, if we're going to recover more glass, we have to have better run programs, and including wine and spirits in the program. The GPI is referencing a separate collection program, but we've deleted that from this proposal.
So I'm wondering if we have a lead-in sentence to these two paragraphs saying, you know, the following two paragraphs highlight, you know, information that's supported.
There are alternatives for wine and spirit collection being explored, and then something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's many states that have eliminated the collection of glass in their curbside programs altogether because it's not economically viable. The only reason it's viable in California is the amount of CRV and processing payments that the curbside programs receive basically pays for the wine and spirits to be in the program.
You know, I like to comment on open-ended comments like those made just by the commissioner. Some of those states eliminated those programs because they weren't funded, and they were funded only by individual ratepayers. And so the system in California is very different than in those states. So when making broad statements like that, we have to also dive deeper into what the system looks like, which is very different in California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we're just saying as the commission, we want to add wine and spirits. I'm not sure, because if we include some things and not others, then it's what are we not including? I'm wondering if we just take these two paragraphs out. I'm not sure they're super additive.
I totally agree with you, Heidi. It complicates the issue.
Yeah, and they're slowing us down. So I would move that we pull them out unless somebody opposes that. Okay. I also want to just bring up, it might be in here, but the NIPS, I know, are becoming a gigantic problem. I was just in DC last week talking about it with some other states. Those little containers that are like one-shot drinks, and a lot of them are in plastic now. They used to be in glass.
They're included in the.
Okay, good, because they're a huge litter problem now. All right, very good. So we'll just go on to read the proposal. In lieu of an industry-operated and funded collection system, wine and spirits should be included in California's current beverage container redemption program.
You can take that first clause out. That was a leftover from the plan.
So basically, the proposal is that wine and spirits should be added, and we've got an extra space after should, included in California's current beverage container redemption program. We all agree with that? Okay. Next one, inclusion of wine and spirits in the CRV program Do we just want to keep saying CRV instead of current beverage redemption? Just say CRV? Okay, so the first sentence, let's just change that, including California's current CRV program. The inclusion of wine and spirits in the CRV program is an obvious solution to improving post-consumer glass quality and supply and increasing the recycling of other containers, including aluminum glass bottles containing and plastic bottles containing wine and spirits.
Ted, you should say what CRV means after current CRV in that first proposal.
We've already abbreviated it though.
Up on top somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we have a public comment. Laura, do you want to read that?
Yes, it's another public comment from Scott DeFife at the Glass Packaging Institute. And it says, wine and spirits are in a couple state redemption programs, but not most. Sometimes this has more to do with the way wine and spirits are sold, which, parentheses, which stores can sell. GPI would be more than happy to comment and help review the glass discussions. This portal for live comment is rather difficult to do it here, and the commissioner who suggests that glass is removed statewide is just incorrect. It is not true. The California system is unique and we want to get more glass back, but let's please try to be factual about glass recycling.
Thank you for the comment. We're definitely trying to be factual, which is why we're citing data or we're not going to include it. So thank you for the comment. And I agree, it is hard for everybody to track. So sorry about that. Inclusion of wine and spirits in CRV program is an obvious solution to improving the glass quality and supply and increasing recycling of other containers. Okay, so the last sentence, since wine and spirits are sold in plastic and metal containers, I don't think we need to say as well. We say are also sold in plastic and metal containers. Those should be included in the current beverage container redemption program. Again, those should also. See, since wine and spirits are also in plastic and metal containers, maybe they should also be included in the current or in the CRV program. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any edits to that? Thumbs up, okay. Okay, good. So we're cranking along here and we're gonna lose CalRecycle in less than about 10 minutes, 13 minutes. So I wanna make sure we get through this and be able to ask them questions. Over the past few years, the industry has seen an increase in single serving nips. Here we go. That may be contributing to litter. I don't think it's a may at all. I think we've all seen it. It's are contributing to litter. Is that people comfortable with that? I see them everywhere. I don't think there's a question. Okay. That are, I pick them up by the river every day. I'm not kidding. Contributing to litter and other negative effects.
Yeah, we can take that out.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Are contributing to litter in California.
Well, I mean, there's, you know, it's easier to hit one when you're driving, stash it. So that's why they're thrown out.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Yep. Inclusion of wine and spirits into the current, again, I would say, into the CRV program will increase the supply of clean redemption material needed for the California circular economy and will mediate and assist local government, gotta change the spelling, with, I wouldn't say with litter cleanup, I would say with litter abatement or litter, local governments by reducing litter. Because it's a guarantee if there's deposits on it, they're gonna come back a lot more than they are now. Everybody okay with that? All right. All right, so we've got 11 minutes to get CalRecycle questions. So minimum post-consumer content requirements for glass beverage containers should be extended to all containers sold in California. The existing 35% standard should be increased to 50%. Now there's no timeline on that. And Commissioner Schneider, you have a comment.
Again, I like all of this. I understand the need to add containers, but the reality is the CRV system has hurt the reusable bottle system. So where will that get addressed?
Commissioner Donlevy or Davis?
Can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
That the CRV system has basically wiped out the wine bottle reuse system that used to be pretty significant, at least here in Northern California. So adding wine and spirits, which I firmly believe in, what can we do to also support the wine bottle reuse or any bottle reuse program? Or is it going to be a separate piece, a separate recommendation?
Yeah, so at the last commission meeting, we were asked to add a reference to AB 962, and it is in here. But we didn't, and we tried to clarify whether that was sufficient, and that's my understanding was to at least acknowledge that. But I think AB 962 was the start for refillables. But no, we're not ready to take on that bigger picture with this policy.
The bottom line right now is this is just adding them to the program, and the program now can and does allow for glass bottles to not be crushed as they were required to be before to be canceled. So they could be now, and there's support for putting up bottle washing. So if they were added to the program, they could do it, but we don't have anything in this policy saying what amount or how much it should be reused. I think that would be a good discussion though for the next and the report in June, and it would be great to have a proposal. I'm actually, working on the national bottle bill, and we are actually discussing refill targets. So that is something that is being thoroughly discussed and vetted right now, and not just in the US, but around the world. So are we okay with not including targets or anything like that for refill in this and just leaving that for maybe an update to this policy? Is everybody comfortable with that? I don't think we're ready to discuss that. Okay, thank you. All right, so thank you, Commissioner Schneider. We'll definitely get back to that. All right, so the next is the possible 2022 legislative priority? Yes, glass, wine, and liquor containers need to share in statewide system costs, and glass minimum content requirements need updating to match other container standards. I want to go back to the minimum recycled content. Is everybody comfortable with that? We did not put a date to get to 50%. It just says that
they're basically the in-state manufacturing is virtually at 50%. I think it's 49.78 something.
That's my
so
understanding.
it would, yeah. I think the imports, that would be the impact. And in the earlier drafts, we thought, yeah, we need to look into that. What would be a time frame? But I don't think we have that. That comfort level. We don't even know what those imports are, so or what percentage they are.
So you're proposing then it's just a straight 50%, which is what they're basically already doing.
Yeah. So the in-state performance would be matched by imports.
Okay, Commissioner Lapis.
I was just gonna make the same point that John did, that it's not what they're already doing. So it is what the in-state folks are doing, but they're at an unfair disadvantage compared to folks in Mexico.
And then wouldn't that level the playing field if we did say this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this would be helpful that way. Okay, good. So we're all comfortable with 50% and not putting a year on it and just letting that be a debate in the legislature. Okay, great. So then would this policy proposal require legislation? Yes, it is required to include wine and spirits in the CRV program and to apply recycled content requirements to glass containers sold in California. I wouldn't say rather than manufactured. In parentheses, sold in California, period. It doesn't matter where they're made, it's where they're sold. Okay, good. It is a legislative priority. Is there anybody that has any comment or question on this little paragraph that glass minimum content requirements need updating? Okay, I don't see any. Does this proposal require additional funding or changes to resource allocation? Answer is enforcement would require additional funding, potentially through distributor or manufacturer fees sufficient to verify compliance. That's okay, but that's just a suggestion. That's not like we're saying there's a debate there, I'm sure, in the legislature as to how anything is funded. Okay. And then related issues, CRV program reform and refillable container policies are related to this proposal. Is everybody comfortable? Is there anybody who is not comfortable with this policy as we just refined it? Then I'm going to suggest, are there any questions for CalRecycle staff on the bottle bill? Because we only have them for another 5 minutes. No? Commissioner Donlevy, did you have any more questions for them? Because I know you've asked for some data. Did he leave? Oh, no, there he is.
No. Yeah, no questions in the public forum.
Okay, well, thank you for the staff being here. We really appreciate it, and hopefully you found this informative, this discussion.
I have a quick question on refillables, wine and refillables. So my question is this: there's a couple companies in the valley that have milk, and they sell it with a deposit at the store, and it's a reusable, refillable item. I use it every week. So it's just a question. It's not going to change my decision either way, but would refillable a wine, it's called a winery, that imposes a refillable their own deposit system to their winery on their wine bottles, adding the CRV, would that exempt them from doing that? Is my question. And I don't know if there's an answer for that.
That would be debated in the legislature, I'm sure, and in the regulations process, but I would hope that, you know, there's thought given to those who led and went first and are doing their own program and giving them a break, as long as they can verify that it's working.
Because I would assume that beverage contain, whether it's milk, orange juice, that are exempt from the CRV program now can have their own deposit system on refillables. And I would assume, I don't know what would happen, right, if we said wine and spirits are in there, and then there's demand for a refillable, how that works. That's all I had.
It's a good question. I think this will come up. Really good question. Commissioner Lapis?
I believe that under the current system, refillables are exempt. And so I think that would apply to anything added.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Schneider?
No, I'm thinking about that one with Strauss milk being the one that I'm most familiar with. It's a pretty hefty core deposit that you put down, but they have their own collection system because milk is switched out so often. Wine and spirits can sit on the shelf a whole lot longer. And to me, the whole problem was at the redemption centers, you had to have a different collection process right there. I'll think about that one. I don't know any other reusers left, and I don't know a winery, even the ones that I'm a wine club member, that take their own stuff back, including their shipping crates.
Maybe we could just put a sentence in this policy that says we would urge sensitivity on existing individual programs by companies, that they not be harmed in this process or something to that. Would that help, Commissioner Kavlikov?
Yeah, I mean, it was more of a question. It's not going to change my decision on this policy. I just think that it may be a pathway. Refillables may be a pathway of wineries, not maybe small niche wineries, not joining the CRV system as well. It's an option for them, possibility. That was my point.
Okay, so Commissioner Ward has taken a stab at it. As these policies are refined, the commission supports having wine and spirit bottles reused and refilled to the extent possible. Practical is a higher priority. Yeah. Yeah. Higher priority than crushing and recycling. Yep. So we've already agreed that we believe in the hierarchy. So this would only align with our existing policy, which is the state law. Okay. So I think at this point, I think we're done with this, unless would someone like to make a motion to approve this policy and add it to our letter?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Valle seconded. All those in favor, say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody who does not support this policy or has concerns still of this policy? Very good. Well, I want to say thank you very much. We have approved a new policy for this report, and I'm very pleased to see that. And I want to thank Commissioners Donlevy and Davis for working so hard on this. It really is an important time to be dealing with glass. And thank you for the Glass Packaging Institute for all your input and any data you can provide to us. We'd really appreciate it. So with that, we've got to keep moving. Commissioner Ward, see, I don't think we have anything else on the bottle bill. So this one is done. And we're gonna, by the way, we're gonna get the data from Commissioner Donlevy and Davis today for those sections. If not, then they will be, those sentences will be removed and those data, the data would be removed. CalRecycle, I guess there's a public, oh, this is about carpet. We're not taking up carpet today, so if we could hold that comment until the end of the policies, I would appreciate it. I will make a note to come back and somebody remind me if I forget. Very good. So we'll move on now to Commissioner Ward. What would be the next one we should probably take up here? I think it was.
Chair Sanborn, sorry to interrupt. There's a late glass packaging comment that just came in as well.
Okay, let's hear it.
Great. So it's again from Scott DeFife, Glass Packaging Institute. The 50% threshold for recycled content is near current numbers, but increasingly difficult to achieve without corresponding improvements in the overall recovery system. Also, adding to the challenge is the corresponding requirement for fiberglass to have a minimum recycled content. The new law, which allows for refill washing to count as processing under CRV, which the industry supported, should help some wineries reconsider and adopt refill programs.
We sure hope so. Thank you so much for your help with that. Thank you for your comments. Okay, so let's move on to the last two that we had to adopt, which is number 10 and number 2, carbon farming, and there was another one. Commissioner Ward, which one would you like to take up first that has the most comments?
The carbon farming one to be quick to turn around, so let's do that one.
Great.
I'll pull that up.
Okay, while you're getting that up, I just want to add and let people know that there's been a lot of press inquiries lately about the SB 343, the labeling bill. I've taken a lot of media inquiries recently, and I don't speak on behalf of the commission. And as you know, we've all discussed, and I speak on behalf of myself, and then only the commission related to the whole of the policy, et cetera. But yesterday was CAP Radio. They're doing a piece in January on this. Reuters was last week, and I also was interviewed by Canadian media. So again, I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see a national introduction of a truth in labeling law in the United States, and definitely in other states. New Jersey's already done it, and I suspect we're going to see New York and others follow. So again, congratulations. We've started a trend in the United States. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah. So I added a paragraph acknowledging the soils incentives programs administered by the California Department of Food and Ag, which is a significant resource towards doing some of these things. And then more or less the policy was just revised similar to the greenhouse gas suggestion regarding compost facilities, in which we essentially suggest that CalRecycle provide a basis for quantifying the greenhouse gas reduction benefits of strategic application of compost and mulch materials in agricultural, landscaping, and general application of compost and mulch materials, and similar techniques to sequester carbon, so such benefits may be considered under environmental reviews. So similar to acknowledging the environmental benefits of compost facilities, pulling organic materials and processing those outside of landfills to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, Similarly, the GHG reduction benefits of applying compost to sequester carbon should also be involved in processes, and that's the thrust of it.
Okay, are there any comments or questions or concerns about this policy or a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Just one slight addition. It has agricultural landscaping, and I guess I would add restoration and conservation.
Okay, that work?
Yeah, take that and. We've got two hands in there.
And okay.
Provide a basis for quantifying the GHG benefits of strategic application of compost and mulch materials in agriculture, landscaping, restoration, erosion control, conservation, and general application of compost and mulch materials and similar techniques. This is long to sequester carbon, so such benefits may be considered under environmental reviews.
And I'm sorry for being long. There are things like hugelkultur. There's lots of different carbon sequestration techniques, and I didn't want to exclude
them.
Okay. Generally, the carbon farming is additional sequestration. That's the distinction with carbon farming or just compost applications or mulch applications.
So who are we asking to provide the quantification? So CalRecycle technical staff hire a qualified consultant or coordinate with staff to provide this. Okay. And assess the potential. Okay. There's an extra
so the rest
space.
of this was similar and no changes. So that was really the only change.
There's an extra space between those two bullets down there, but outside of that.
Always improve. Grumble.
Yeah, it's that weird formatting thing.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any comments or is there a motion to approve this as is? Has everybody had time? Are you comfortable with this? Do you want us to read through it more carefully?
I'll move it forward. I know we've discussed it in the past, so we should have had an opportunity to review it.
Thanks. I'll second.
Okay. Then all those in favor say aye or thumbs up if you're on screen.
Aye.
Very good. Yay.
Aye.
Okay. Is there anybody who's opposed? Then we have a unanimous vote, and we will go ahead and add this to our letter as well. Thank you very much again, Commissioner Ward, for your work on this. So now we can move on to
Waste prevention.
waste prevention. That would be great.
So this is final hearing, I think. I was asked to add some language referencing the statewide survey. So that's the language in red. I'll read it. In a 2021 statewide survey, though 50 to 70% of California households reported that they placed what they thought was recyclable into the recycling bin, between 25% and 40% were confused into thinking non-recyclable items like expanded polystyrene cups, plastic bread bags, cookie wrappers, or juice pouches were recyclable. So those confusing items were reliably placed in the wrong bins, leading to contamination. That same survey showed 39% relied upon the Chasing Arrows label to determine if an item belongs in the recycling cart, though that symbol has oft been misapplied. Often?
Yeah. I think we're using New English, Nettle. awesome. Okay. Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I think because AB 343 is going to shed some light on this, I wonder if there's a way to, it needs to be considered in the context of the recommendation. So we've got, Commissioner Ward, I'm not sure how you're envisioning the upcoming work under 343 and.
Yeah. Do you have suggestions? I mean, it's true that the chasing arrows is a concern to all of us, and we're hoping that 343 addresses that. But I tried not. I was not addressing hopes for the future necessarily. That seemed.
So this proposal is focused on right now, 2022, essentially.
It is
343 findings.
My
concern is that we'd start sending messages that would be inconsistent with the 343 findings a year or two later. So,
should I add? Is that adequate?
yeah, I mean that's accurate. But again, my concern is that we get too far out in front on messaging without it being in the context of what's coming under 343.
So what does that mean? I mean, do you want to change this? Do you not want to submit it? What?
No, I guess maybe I'm the only one who's concerned about it, but we're asking Cal Recycle to up their messaging here.
Well, some of that will be related to 343. As I was hoping that Cal Recycle might pursue this, what I see as Cal Recycle having a more manufacturer-oriented portal to try to inform product designers and packaging designers about what is and what is not recyclable in California, what is okay and what is not okay in terms of labeling. And so some of that will relate to informing those same parties when and how the chasing arrows recycling symbol would be appropriate on a product or package sold in California. So that's how I would see them being related. But I didn't want to be overly comprehensive on everything that Cal Recycle might use in such a portal, but I did want to highlight the kinds of things. So that was my
I'd make a suggestion because Cal Recycle right now has the authority to educate but not enforce on labeling. So if we want them to enforce on labeling, that's a totally different recommendation. If we, in 343, they're going to have resources to help educate, and that would help the AG have clarity too and enforcement, I would think. Commissioner Lapis.
They do have broad authority to refer any violations of law to the Attorney General's office, and same with the secretary level Cal EPA.
Thank you. Commissioner Dell?
Yeah, I do think this is really important, and it's a hard issue to get around, but I'm just going to give an example of this bottle that came from SodaStream. I just got a SodaStream to, reduce packaging and be able to make bubbly beverages. And I actually think the company is trying to do the right thing by minimizing packaging, but they're just so ill-informed that they're putting this in white PET, which recyclers on this call tell me there's no market for, and in a shrink sleeve that doesn't work. And then there's a cap that's not labeled. And more than me just tweeting about it to SodaStream saying, hey, do better, make it clear, don't use a shrink sleeve, I feel like there really needs to be some strong messaging given back to product companies of redesign this, right? And so, yes, SB 343 will help when we go through the list of what's actually recyclable. What should come out actually is that if what I'm hearing from recyclers is correct and there's no market for white opaque PET or green, you actually need clear to make either of these, I'm told, then this is a message we have to give back to product makers. I'm disappointed they don't hire experts to go figure this out themselves, but we should be really giving a loud voice back. Do better, redesign, make it clear.
From the government, because I think there's something I wanted to share too. I think there's a plastics group that just started circulating a letter to amplify our letter to CalRecycle and to the AG's office. By the way, I've seen it. That's due, I think they're going to submit it January 3rd. That's trying to amplify our message about the labeling problems.
Right, to have it come from CalRecycle based on expertise from this commission or others. Not from activist NGOs, but in a very serious way, saying there's no market for this isn't recyclable. And yes, ultimately SB 343 should cover that, because they should look at, is there a market for green or not? The recyclers in California tell us no. Again, for white, no. So these should be redesigned if they want to be able to have this labeled and claimed as recyclable. And that is the brilliance of SB 343, if it works appropriately. Hopefully it will, that will solve that. But then that messaging does need to get out.
Thank you. Okay, so are we comfortable then? So the purpose is that CalRecycle's outreach program should embrace waste prevention as top priority, and to reduce contamination in California's recycling, composting, and stormwater programs, CalRecycle should develop proactive outreach and communications to reduce the introduction of such contaminants at the source as the highest priority focus, while continuing its role coordinating, harmonizing broader outreach to the general public regarding proper separation. Wasn't there an issue though about proper separation and what they were comfortable telling the public? I think that was a whole discussion that we had.
That was, they basically hesitated to say, put anything in the bin. But the outreach I'm proposing is really, like I said, producer focused, and try to emphasize that without such a directed outreach to manufacturers and packagers, we can anticipate just as that the history will repeat itself and new contaminants will be introduced, which will be a source of confusion to all of California's customers. So rather than trying to reach out to all of California's customers to say, don't put this contaminant in the recycling bin, a more effective approach would be to reach to the manufacturers and the producers saying, this is a contaminant you should not introduce in your package.
I will note that in Belgium, when I was there looking at their EPR system for packaging 2010, they had hired, the stewardship program had actually hired 5 packaging designers or 3 packaging designers that were going to all the 5,800 manufacturers individually and helping them redesign their package to reduce their cost to put them on the market, because the way they set their fees to the producers, the price went way up per ton if they had a non-recyclable, non-compostable package. And over time, it was saving the companies money, and they were getting a lot more streamlined packaging that the system could handle cost effectively. And I thought that was very interesting, because we're asking the government to do it here, which is unfunded. But in that program, it was actually the producer run program that was doing it. Commissioner Dunleavy.
Yeah, thank you. Just to chime in with what Commissioner Dell was talking about, there are a lot of items that are being labeled as recyclable that just can't be recycled, or they're detrimental to recycling. We're seeing an influx of aluminum cans that have complete full plastic wrap on them. They're coming from microbrews and other small beverage companies that cannot go to a large facility and have the cans printed. So they're using smaller bottlers or canners to fill their containers, and they're using a plastic wrap, which is detrimental to the clean cans that don't have the wrap, which puts the recyclers and the processors at risk of having loads rejected because of that plastic wrap that's on there. The same could be said for the PET bottles or, excuse me, other containers that are uniquely designed to be appealing to the consumer to buy, but it causes harm in the recycling process. You know, one of the ultimate long-term fixes with the bottle bill is CalRecycle doesn't have the ability to redesignate an item, because if the item is predominantly an aluminum can, they call it an aluminum can, and they don't pay into the program as far as a manufacturer component. But if they put a plastic wrap on there, they still call it an aluminum can, when it should really be an other, because it's a multi-material product at that point. It's aluminum and plastic. The same could be said with PET with the full wrap shrink sleeves. It might be an incompatible label. They still call it a PET bottle when a solution would be to call it a number 7 bottle.
Do you want to have a change to this proposal based on these things?
What's that?
You want to make any changes to this proposal based on your comments?
No, I mean, I'm supporting this, but a fix is a major fix within the bottle bill, giving CalRecycle some authority to redesignate containers, number 7 containers that are multi-material, rather than, you know, an aluminum can or a PET bottle or an HDPE bottle if it's multi-material. That would be a solution for beverage containers in the program.
All right, good. If there's no proposed changes to this, then you're proposing, I'll go ahead and move on to Commissioner Davis. We're going to have to keep moving so we can finish the last few.
Yeah, I was thinking about my comment earlier about 343, and there's also SB 1335 that CalRecycle just issued final regulations about state facility, what's recyclable, compostable, reusable. So there, I may have a, yeah, there you go. Mission hopes the process. In the interim, so add a sentence. No, you're ahead of me. You want to add a sentence at the end.
Here or here?
Yeah, there, right.
Okay, ready.
In the interim, CalRecycle should utilize their findings under SB 1335 to begin informing decisions, or to begin what? Yeah, outreach. Yeah, that's fine. There you go. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, so with this, are there any other comments or changes to the text of this proposal on waste prevention outreach? Or do I hear a motion? Is this ready to go?
We already had a motion and a second.
Oh yeah, that's right, sorry. So I guess we'll just call a vote. All right, so these will all be accepted changes. All right, is there anybody, I guess, thumbs up or aye if you support this policy? Very good. And is there anybody who's opposed? Very good. And we've got another unanimous adoption of a waste prevention and education policy. Thank you very much, Commissioner Ward. And I think it was with also Commissioner Schneider, correct? Working on that?
We consulted, yes.
Consulted, great. Okay, very good. So which one would we take up next? We've got, I think we're getting down to the wire here.
We are.
So now the updated policy proposals, I think we had the right to repair had an update, is that correct? Or have we adopted that completely?
That one's finished.
Yeah. And I'm quite sure that's we're gonna see in the legislature this year. I think we finished.
I think we're done. I think
we're
we
done?
reviewed everything. Yeah.
Excellent. Then the only thing we have to do is go back and correct the letter because we did not accept the thermoforms policy. So we'd need to remove that.
And I think I did that. Well, let's review what we got. But I did, I removed the thermoforms from the new policy proposals. And then there was a paragraph that we referred to it here. So we'll review that, make sure it doesn't say anything. Our policy recommendations suggest ways CalRecycle could support outreach to prevent waste and reduce contamination in recovery systems. How CalRecycle could affirm some of the projected reduction in greenhouse gas emissions associated with composting or anaerobic digestion facilities. Our recommendations address the need for enforcement of existing laws related to labeling and recyclability of film plastics and how wine and liquor bottles could be managed in California's bottle bill.
Okay, so with that, the change in the letter to remove the thermoforms policy and to renumber the policies, I assume you're all trusting Commissioner Ward and I to make those edits and get the final changes on the data sources from the policy and the glass, get that finalized.
And I guess I need to highlight that it looks like because we dropped that one policy that the numbering is going to change, and the policy, the GHG emissions going to be 2133, and a labeling enforcement letter is 2133.
Okay, so what I would suggest we do is Commissioner Ward and I, by close of business tomorrow, I have a lot going on this afternoon, so I'll try to work with them on finishing all this. And then we'll email the final letter and the policies to all of you as the final, like this is what it is, and we're gonna submit it by close of business Friday unless we hear from you Friday, okay? Just to do one last double check and everybody can make sure all their edits got in and we didn't goof anything up. So we'll go ahead and do that by close of business tomorrow, and we'll have to hear from you by Friday because we will send this off Friday so we can all take a nice break. And the kitty is in the house. That's very cute. So great. Well done, Commission. Thank you again. Amazing work. Got a lot done, and we're moving quickly so we can all move on with our day to agenda item number 5, which is discussion with CalRecycle on education and outreach. This is where we thought we would discuss this education and outreach policy. And do we have someone from CalRecycle staff here to talk about this? I think Zoe was going to join us, I believe.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. So I missed the last meeting, but met with our team at CalRecycle, and they shared with me some of the questions that came up last week. And what I was thinking is I could go through them and address them. If that works best for you guys, I think that would be efficient, and then we can have any conversation around the responses that we have. Does that work for you?
Fantastic, thank you.
All right, so let me pull up the document here to make sure I have them correct. My computer is doing this funny thing right now. Whenever I try to pull up the document, it just goes back to the meeting here. But the first question I have is, how much confidence do we have in the applicability of the data in the survey, given that the demographics of survey respondents is significantly different from demographics of the California population? Specifically, the Hispanic Latino respondents were not representative of the statewide population. And I just want to say that I do appreciate that comment. In our review, we noticed the same thing and had similar concerns. So we completely understand the Commission's concerns related to the demographics of the survey respondents, since they were not representative of California. The survey was used as one of multiple pieces of information for developing the statewide campaign. Other pieces of information that were used were data from focus groups. Oops, I lost my document again. I don't know why this keeps happening today. Here we go. Data from focus groups, and then priorities from Director Wagner as well. Additionally, the survey results were weighted to better represent the demographics of California. And finally, the mid-campaign research will use different and varied tactics with the goal to get survey respondents that better reflect California's diverse population. And I think what you saw in the survey was that also the respondents were not representative of the recipients of the survey. So it had a lot to do with who provided responses. So I think something we can think about if we do this again with a consultant is ways in which that we can have an ease of return of information back to us too, so that we're able to get a better representative population. So any questions on that before I move on? All right, I will go ahead and move on to the next question. And I know this has come up a number of times, and lost my document again. Oh,
So
go ahead.
Commissioner Davis.
I raised so we saw a presentation. Is there going to be a report, written report with that, or is that pretty much you're just working through the findings in that PowerPoint kind of format?
Correct. Yeah, there's not going to be a report by the department on the deliverables, for lack of a better word, is going to be the advertising campaign itself, and also the website that CalRecycle is developing. And I'm going to get into this in response to the next question, but the advertising campaign is a very traditional advertising campaign. So, you know, small snippets of information with succinct, hopefully somewhat catchy messaging that will bring California towards some behavior change. But with that said, we know that there's a need for more consistent information out there. So what we'll have is a number, and I think we've talked about this at the CalRecycle public meeting and other places, is that we're redesigning our website for ease of use from the public, from the stakeholders that we serve. And one of the components of the website is going to be a place where the ad campaign will direct consumers of the ad campaign to, and others, for some more specific information on specific product types and behavior that we're working to influence through the advertising campaign.
So yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys saw the same kind of concerns about the demographic information. I assume that as you build websites and all that, you're cognizant of some of the responses may not be wholly reliable.
That is correct, John. And so that's why, once again, this was only one, you know, we delivered the survey data to you all, but that's only one piece of the information that the department is using as far as developing and shaping the advertising campaign. We're not solely relying on it. And we also saw the same deficiencies and had the similar concerns. Other questions on that piece? Okay, so the next question, and once again, I've heard this come up in a number of meetings about, you know, how the department should address plastic bags, that plastic bags are a contaminant. We hear about all of the challenges associated with them, from litter, from, you know, confusion as to how they should behave in the system or where they should go in the system, to, you know, even just implementation of the plastic bag ban. There's a lot of confusion. So we've heard that loud and clear. And, you know, once again, we're going to have this high level campaign that you'll see that'll be very similar to other ad campaigns. But what we hope to do is, you know, through the websites that we're standing up, that we're going to be directing people towards, to have some really clear messaging around specific material types. And so we're utilizing what we've heard from you all, as well as other data, so that we can develop something that will be very, very useful. You know, I've heard the commission, and also in conversations within CalRecycle, one of those places that we have to be careful is to ensure that we don't conflict with our regs. And so when it comes to how we talk about plastic bags, we're going to have to be careful in not ignoring the fact that they are allowed in our 1383 regulations as a way in which to hold organic materials, but understanding the challenges that they bring through if people bag traditional recyclables, or even put film plastic in plastic bags in the recycling bin across the state. So we've heard you on that, and we will address, probably not in, you know, the short snippet, the ads that you see here on the radio and you see on billboards and those sorts of things, but in the educational, the more robust educational information that we'll be providing to jurisdictions and also on our website.
Question, Zoe?
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned 1383 that plastic bags are allowed, and can you expand on that? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, you know, what I'd like to do, just so that I can be really clear about it, is I can respond now, but also treat it as a data request, where we send you the exact part of the regulations that allow for the bagging of organic waste. But my understanding, and I don't have the regs in front of me, is that 1383 does allow for the bagging of organic waste. So that was, since we're allowing for that, once again, we have to be very, very clear as to how we address it. So I'll follow up, or our team will follow up with an email or a data request response as to where in the regs we specifically address bagging organic waste.
I would appreciate that because that's something I'm not familiar with, and we're implementing 1383 in several jurisdictions, and I haven't heard that, to be honest with you. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Other questions or comments?
Hey, Zoe, it's Nick. On that specific point, the regs allow a local jurisdiction to include plastic bags, which I think was a mistake, but they definitely don't require it. It's not one of the materials that has to be recycled the way green waste, food scraps, and paper are listed. So it's a tool that local governments are allowed to use, but I think it's going to be in the small minority of jurisdictions. So how do you address that if it is technically a tool that people have, but in the vast majority of jurisdictions, it's a contaminant?
Yeah, and that's a really hard question to answer, Nick. I appreciate you bringing it up because sometimes there are, I think it's just to be clear about the data and what we know about plastic bags and acknowledge that there is an option in the regulations, but, to make sure we're representing both sides of the coin there so that we're not, we're not conflicting with our regs, but, being clear about the challenges that we hear on the ground associated with bagging materials.
I think that there's
just to add to Nick's comment, the jurisdiction can allow for it to use bags, but then the facility that receives that material has to attest that they can actually take organics that are bagged. So that there is a process that has to go through before they're allowed.
And Zoe, just a quick follow-up. I think this is one of those cases where careful wording is incredibly important to not greenwash, and there are factual statements you can make that are not, deceptive about letting people think that they can put plastic bags in all of their green waste bins. So it might be a really good example of something that it would be great if CalRecycle could run past the commission. That specific point, I think, needs to be wordsmithed a little bit.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that feedback.
I think Commissioner Don Levy and then Commissioner Ward.
Yes, Zoe, good morning.
Good morning.
With CalRecycle, does CalRecycle have staff, time, or budget where they could do research and look at claims of recyclability, specifically in-store take-back programs, to see if the plastic bags that they say they're taking back are actually getting recycled? Kind of follow them. I'll play Commissioner Dell. You have a major brand that is saying that their Mylar covers for breakfast bars are recyclable. I've tried talking to them, I've tried talking to the stores, and nobody could actually tell me where the material was going. Yet it's a national campaign to convince everybody that these turn into park benches or hang gliders. But nobody from the company or the stores where I took the material back to could actually tell me where it went. So does CalRecycle have time or budget to kind of investigate these claims to see if there's truth in advertising?
Jeff, appreciate that question. And we do not get to that level of specificity at this time. I understand the importance of understanding to get a better handle as to where these materials go if they are truly turning into recycled content into something else, but we don't collect that specificity of data. So I can check with our team to see if there's anything we do related to that, but I'm hoping that through implementation of 343 and the potential of other legislation on the horizon, that we will, as a state, be able to wrap our heads around that a little bit better as to where that material ultimately ends up going and if it's truly turned into a new product or not.
Yeah, that would be great, because I just want to make sure that when people are saying something's recyclable, it's not accepted in a program and it's an allowable outthrow in another material type. So this might be able to go in with plastic bags, but it might be processed out when they're capturing the plastic from the plastic bags. But this is an outthrow that'll actually be landfilled. I don't know that because nobody could tell me that. I'm just wondering at Cal Recycle's level to help ensure that when somebody says something is recyclable, it's actually getting recycled. So if there's anything the commission could do from a policy recommendation for staff and budget, I'd be happy to help with that.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Donlevy. I'm going to turn the chair over to the vice chair right now because I have to travel downtown for a meeting. So I'll be listening on the phone. If that's okay, Vice Chair Valle, if you could finish out the meeting as chair.
Yeah, sure. No problem, Heidi. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I'll go ahead and get on my phone and listen in and participate that way. Thank you. And I think Commissioner Ward is next and then Dell.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly, thank you, Zoe, for coming and talking to us again. But I wanted to highlight that I think the commission really needs to drill down on the plastic bags and SB 1383 issue, because as programs are rolling out to try to capture food waste, some communities, my understanding is they feel like the plastic bag liner on the food scrap container is really vital to getting some of their customers to adopt that behavior. Whereas a lot of the folks who are including those things basically have to remove those plastic bags after the fact. And so my concern is that in these program rollouts, that essentially we will be adding confusion to California customers, giving them the incorrect impression that plastics in general go in the compost bin. That's my big concern. Because anytime you say, well, the right thing to do is you line your food basket with this plastic bag and you put your food inside. Anytime you offer that instruction, the subtle underlying message is this plastic, it goes in the compost bin. That is my big concern. And I want to figure out a way to address it in a forthright manner.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate that comment.
Commissioner Dell, then Commissioner Schneider.
Great, thanks. Commissioner Ward, I totally support everything you just said. In addition, I think it's important to clarify and emphasize that there are laws in place today that make labeling of products illegal. This is not a wait for SB 343 on everything. Those laws are in place today. They are the reason that Keurig has now had a settlement, which will be the details of which will be announced in February based on California law and a class action. It's a reason that there was a settlement in the lawsuit that I filed with TerraCycle and A product companies. There are laws in place today that require proof that a label on a plastic bag is correct. So SB 343 will come in the future. It has more to do around the chasing arrows on things. But today there are laws in place. Lawsuits are being filed and won and argued and filed again. But based on existing laws, Californians and our environment can be protected when those laws are enforced.
Thank you, Jan.
Commissioner Snyder.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just to go back to what Commissioner Ward said, in a community like mine that's had food scrap collection for 3 or 4 or 5 years now, our service provider includes instructions on not to use plastic. Plastic and biodegradable plastic are absolutely bad for anaerobic digestion. And they make it's an origami thing. There's some really easy instructions to create a container that is entirely organic and can be composted. I don't know if paper's in organics, if a farm can use it because it's paper, that's beyond my knowledge. But we have those instructions already, and I haven't heard any problems. Again, plastics for South City Scavenger is really bad in our system.
Thank you for that comment. And it, highlights the geographic differences throughout the state as to what's collected, what actually works within existing systems and what doesn't. And I think that we're maybe moving to some more consistency, but there still is a significant amount of geographic difference in California with some specific, materials being across the board problematic or across the board accepted and recycled. But appreciate you making that point.
I would only add what I'm picking up from my Sierra Club listserv is as cities are beginning to roll out 1383, more entities are getting the plastic buckets that we've had for many years. So maybe there'll be some easier adoption than you think.
Thank you.
Zoe, thank you. One of the things that we're seeing logistically in our communities as we're implementing 1383 is around mobile home parks. We have about 700 units in 2 parks, and getting everybody an organic container in a mobile home park can be an issue because our trucks can retrieve easily a 64, 96 gallon cart. It gets a little bit more difficult with a 32, so we're looking at 32 gallon carts with 20 gallon inserts. So logistically, that's costly and it's difficult. Also at townhouses and condominiums, whether or not people want individual service, if they own their own townhouse or condo, they have the right to have individual service versus service at a unit, common deposit, which creates some issues if you're going to put a common container, such as a 4 or 5 cubic yard box for organic. So there's a lot of challenges in the implementation of 1383. But so I think that community ed is really critical in this arena. Anybody else for Zoe before we let her go? Okay.
Well, thank you all very much, commissioners. I did hear one data request on clarifying 1383 regs, the specific language in there as it relates to plastic bags and bagging of organic material. And I also heard a number of suggestions from you all on places to take our education and outreach campaign as part of your ongoing feedback to us. So the department and myself were very, very appreciative of your ongoing input as we're all thinking about these issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. So we're going to move to item 6 now, which is next meeting and agenda for future meetings. Am I on point?
You are. And we were going to discuss on the next agenda something regarding, how long people are, chair and vice chair and all that kind of stuff. And I think Commissioner Donlevy had raised that. So I've got that on the agenda. But outside of that, I think it's pretty open.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to future agenda items?
I think we need to schedule a subcommittee or committee meeting on thermoforms with the.
Oh, yes, thank you. And there were 7 of us. So I would suggest, late in the first week of January, if that works for the other folks, unless they want to wait till the second week.
I think we normally would have had a mission.
Public comment that we haven't gone to. I think that was going to be at the end of the last.
I think we take public comment, right? Or is there public comment on agenda items? I missed that, Kobe.
There is one additional unread public comment related to carpet that can be read whenever you guys would like.
Vice Chair Valle, Chair Sanborn, if I could.
Yeah.
Regarding the thermoform subcommittee, since we have 7 that are now on it, I would almost recommend that we just incorporate that into a regular meeting, so everybody's involved in the discussions, just to help expedite and not create additional meetings for the group.
What's a pleasure? Anybody else?
I hesitate to do that. I think it's a pretty involved discussion, and we got a lot of things. I just hesitate to make that a full group discussion.
Okay. Anybody else in the subcommittee want to chime in?
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Ward. I think that group of 7 would be able to dive into the issues, review them, and then bring back something that that would be, I think, now be able to reach consensus. So I think it's important to have that group meet first.
Okay. Well, we'll let the subcommittee set the date. Heidi, is that what you're going to do?
That's fine. I can send an email. I can send an email around to the committee later today, and then get a doodle poll, and then I'll let the CalRecycle staff know, and they'll post it, and it'll have to be 10-day notice like everything else.
Don, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to suggest we use the January 5th, which would have been our commission meeting, but I'm fine doing a doodle poll.
Okay.
That works for me too.
Heidi, any additional agenda items for the next meeting?
No, I think all we'll do is it'll be about, the commissioners really thinking about what do you want to do and accomplish in the next 6 months and have that final report, and how big of a report do you want? I would suggest that we either just assign somebody to help Ted and I get the materials out once we have them done, because it's a lot of work getting these things out from the commission properly. In fact, I want to thank Commissioner Dell, because she helped me by sending the letter to the Attorney General, because I could not do it from where I was. And Ted is doing more than his share at this point, so I don't want to ask him to do any more. So if there's somebody else who can help us kind of like be the secretary, we'd be very grateful. But that's it. I think it's just going to be about what policies do you want to take up and discuss. And you can all email me, and I can help set the agenda and send out a preliminary agenda. And if I forgot anything, just let me know and I'll get it posted.
Okay.
I'd like to have an item. I'd like to have an item at some point to discuss what happens after July of next year. I mean, does the commission continue? Does it dissolve? Or is there a reappointment application process? Does the application process open? I don't know any of those answers.
I can do that. I can ask Zoe to come if she's still there, and we can discuss that. That my understanding is that this was not a commission that ended, but that the appointments were 2-year appointments, but that we all serve at the pleasure of the director, and she can remove anyone at any time for any reason. So that's my understanding, but it would be good to get that all out there. And then I think that was part of what Commissioner Don Levy wanted to discuss was, who's going to be applying or staying on or so forth, just to make sure there's enough. But really, that's the director's role, is to decide, when she's going to go out and ask for other people to apply, et cetera.
Right. I just think that it's important to discuss that early, because I think it sets the tone for what the July report looks like. I mean, is it part of a continuing dialogue? Is it a closeout?
So
we'll get on the agenda
in January, right, Heidi?
Correct. We're going to have, if we do the committee meeting January 5th, we were not going to have a meeting January 5th to give everybody a break, because that would mean we'd have to be doing work over the next 2 weeks. So we're having only the one meeting of the full commission next month, which is the 3rd Wednesday from 9 to 12. That's the plan.
And I wholeheartedly support that, Chair. We need a little break, especially right after the holidays.
What's the date on 3rd Wednesday, please?
I think it's the 19th.
19th?
It's all posted on the CalRecycle website already. They've posted them.
It's the 19th.
Heidi, before we go to that public comment, I have one question for you and Jan. The letter that went to the Attorney General on enforcement of recyclable labels and plastic, Do you have the original? I need to print that out so I can hand deliver it. Do you have the original? Because I can't find it on the documents.
Maybe
I'll
Commissioner
forward
Ward,
it to you again.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
because I just,
Yeah, but do you have the official date on it that we sent it?
Yeah, I think it's dated. I'll send you the PDF again.
Yeah, because one I have has a date, but there's no date on it. Just want to make sure it was sent and the date it was sent so I can print it.
it was actually hard copy mailed to the AG by Commissioner Dell, so she can tell you the date, because it was taking me a while to get the right. Sometimes it's hard to even get an email or to know how to get this stuff to people anymore.
All right.
So it was, yeah, I mean, the date that it was emailed to Cal Recycle was December 3rd. The document may not say that itself. It was attached to an email, and then it was also overnighted by me, hard copy this past week. Which date would you like?
December 3rd is fine. Can you put that on there, please?
December 3rd is when it went public and it was posted on the website.
That's fine.
And I forwarded it to you, but I'll forward it to you again.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for hand delivering it.
Okay, no problem. Do you want to hear that public comment, Heidi?
Yes, please.
Great. So the public comment comes from Randy Pollock of White Brenner LLP, and it says CARE recently reported a solid performance for carpet recycling with a recycling rate for Q3 2021 of 28%. CARE also continues to incentivize more innovative recycling efforts. And that is the public comment.
Thank you. That's good news. I just hope we can keep that rate going up. Thank you.
Did you want to do data review and request from the commission via Cal Recycle, Heidi?
I think that's it.
That's it?
Except that I want to say thank you all so much. What a great commission. What amazing work we've done. We're making national and international impact. And I think it's all just going to start showing up next year, just how broad an impact that we've had. So I hope you all celebrate the holidays with your families and friends, and be good to yourself, take a rest, and we'll look forward to seeing you in January. And thank you, Vice Chair Valle, for all that you've done, and Commissioner Ward. Dell, it's a great team.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.